The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. Some Pharisees and Herodians were sent to Jesus to ensnare him in his speech. They came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are a truthful man, and that you are not concerned with anyone's opinion. You do not regard a person's status, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it lawful to pay the census tax to Caesar or not? Should we pay or should we not pay?" Knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, "Why are you testing me? Bring me a denarius to look at." They brought one to him, and he said to them, "Whose image and inscription is this?" They replied to him, "Caesar's." So Jesus said to them, "Repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." They were utterly amazed at him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
It's a great opportunity we have to reflect on Jesus' wisdom and I don't want to say his quick-wittedness, but I'm trying to give myself cover there, perhaps. But it's great to see Jesus operate, in these little episodes where people are trying to catch him, right? Perhaps we need a little look at the two horns of the particular dilemma here, right? I mean, this is. Taxation's a big deal, and it's a big deal for us, but it's a bigger deal for a faithful Jew in the first century, because the Jewish people are a free people, right? They're God's people. They're free people, and how can they own that for themselves? How can they live as God's free people when the occupying force of Rome is taxing them? And any tax is too much, right? We understand that, but quite serious taxation policy. Wherever Rome went, wherever Rome occupied, wherever Rome ruled, Rome taxed. And the people were, of course, resentful over these policies and so on and so forth. So this is a big question, also because you have to think in the first century. I mean, we have record of any number of different Messiah or would-be Messiah movements, and we can think of even the really strict us versus them realities that are at play in the first century. The pagans, right? The dirty and often diseased pagans, and the pure Jews, right? Like we're keeping ourselves pure. We have all these rituals to prevent the contraction of disease and the rest. And I mean, we live in a time now where we say maybe there was some wisdom to that, to like not mixing peoples or having worldwide trade and the rest, because you get to avoid serious diseases sweeping through your own camp and that kind of thing, right? But there's a lot of tension there, and of course. The political reality of them group, the pagans dominating the us group makes it all very explosive, and we can see we remember the Maccabean revolt and the pagans trying to get Jews to eat unclean foods, and how serious they took that, again, whether that was disease or say the cultural norms, or you should put "and" there, right? But also the political, I don't know, their firm ground politically or whatever. It's all comes to a head in these kind of situations, scenarios, right? This is not a simple question. It's not. If someone were to ask us this question today, it wouldn't have all that. It wouldn't have all that baggage. So, and of course, at this time, why are the Pharisees and the Herodians coming to Jesus? Why would they come to Jesus? He's just some random prophet from Galilee. It doesn't. What is he? No, he's got the people. Right. So he's the popular one. He's leading a growing, what looks like a growing revolution. And they want to get to him early enough to have it work for their benefit. They want to be in control of the whole thing, right? So the Herodians, of course, are in league with Herod. So they're not like unsullied people themselves. This is like tainted stuff, and the Pharisees too. They're not as pure as they want other people to believe. And of course, they want control of the masses in order to be able to keep them in their place so that they can stay in their place. Or if the time is right for them, to launch the revolution so that they can be in power, right? So got all this stuff going on. They ask him about the coin. They ask him about the tax, right? He doesn't have the coin. And it's embarrassing for them, right? Because as faithful Jews, they're not allowed to carve images, like at all. There are some debates about, whether or not they can carve images of plants. Certainly not of people. Certainly not. Even a faithful Jew today. Right? It's a graven image. Because there's something about that, and we should recognize that as well. There's something about that there's power in an image. And does that power override the worship of God? I don't know. There's a chance there. We find it silly that they worship a golden calf in the wilderness, right? But we've managed to worship idols perhaps without images. Or we talk about things like the almighty dollar and think that this is just like casual, commonplace language. This is not just language, right? So anyway, this is like what's going on here. He doesn't have the image. He's the faithful Jew. He's the faithful Jew. That's important, right? And then he's not in league with Caesar. So it's embarrassing them, the fact that they have to go and produce a coin. And when they produce that coin, it's not only got the image on it, it's not only got Tiberius Augustus' image on it, it has language on it that says things like high priest, because the emperor is the high priest of the Roman cult, right? And it's got, he's the son of the divine Augustus, because it makes great political sense for people to be able to claim that, my father was a god, So, but this is all language that is, I don't know. It's not even inaccessible. It's disgraceful for a Jew, and they have the coin. He doesn't have the coin. Right, so there's that whole challenge. But what do they want? What do they want to do? They want him to go one way or the other. Say, pay the tax. Say, pay the tax, and lose the crowd. Or say, don't pay the tax, and we'll take you to the people who will kill you because you're inciting rebellion. Right, so you get to choose one way or another. And what does Jesus do? He transcends the either or. And he calls about a more significant obedience to God. Yeah, so we don't want to, I know that this has been used even in recent years to look at church versus state or religion and politics and the rest. Throw that out. Throw it out. Jesus he's not doing that here. He takes those questions on, I think, elsewhere, and to much greater effect. But yeah, here it is, right? What does he say? Repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Now, we don't know how that sounded, right? Because in the Maccabean Revolution, one of the kind of phrases was something like, basically give as good as you get. So pay the Gentiles back in their own coin, like something like. Now, how does that sound? I don't know how that sounds. Like, does it mean pay the tax, or does it mean they're oppressing you, you ought to act with violence against them? I mean, it's a bit murky, right? He's not out and out saying it, although he is actually saying pay the tax. He's not giving his opponents the foothold that they want. And then, what does he say? And to God what belongs to God. The other part of the Maccabean Revolution was keep the commandments, right? give back to the Gentiles what you're getting, and observe the commandments or obey the commandments. This is very similar, right? It sounds like a similar kind of cry, a battle cry on Jesus' part. But of course, and to God what belongs to God? Everything belongs to God. Everything belongs to God. Right? What do we have that doesn't belong to God? And the challenge lives on, right? There's a reason why we have this passage in the lectionary, why I have to confront this reality year after year. Because, Jesus is not living this life of compromise where he'd be able to go one way or the other, precisely because he's given totally over to God his Father. He's not able to be cornered. It's not like a little trick on Jesus' part in that sense. It's precisely because he is who he is that he's always going to transcend. Like he can't be pinned down by this question, but he's also going to go much deeper as it relates to what our responsibilities are and how the question actually pushes into a bigger question, the answer for which is yes, the kingdom of God and the popular revolution, but not in the way that you conceive of it. It has to be when we say pay, and to God what belongs to God, repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. To God belongs everything, but it's more than that. It's everything in the sense of going beyond myself also. Right? So the dilemma that Jesus faces here is to choose one way of self-satisfaction or gratification, one corrupted human way or another. And he can't do it because he's living the way of God. He's living the way of self-gift. He's living the way of total for the otherness. And if he does that, then of course he can't be trapped here. And his words are going to be much more challenging. And then the question for us is, again, not about taxation. It's about our whole life. Are we giving everything to God? Are we living the way of self-gift? Is everything we do every day inspired by love? And is it an act of love? Is it an act of going beyond ourselves? Or is it not? And if it's not, we're going to find ourselves in not just this dilemma, but other dilemmas as well. Everything's going to be a dilemma to us. Everything's going to be a human or political calculation. And Jesus is calling us to go beyond it, to live in the cause of love. And live in the cause of love all the way to the end, no matter what comes our way. And if we live that, then we are in the kingdom of God. Right? If we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, everything will be given us besides. Right? This is what he says. Everything. So everything today for God. Everything. And if there's ever a time where we think of something else, we bring ourselves back. Is this love? Is this my commitment to God? Is this God's kingdom? Is this love? And I pray that we answer that in the affirmative, right? We celebrate St. Justin Martyr today, who answered that in the affirmative with his entire life. Right? We have red for that reason. And if we just remember red as we go through our day, then we can think the same thing. Everything for God. Everything for God. That even our death, gone to faithfully, is his glorification. It's turning the world upside down. One act of love at a time.